Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Own Your Own Freedom. This is part 2 in my series on boundaries. Boundaries for you and in between you and toxic people, but really just you as a healthy person navigating this world with other human beings. This is a topic that is super important for us that have suffered some sort of abuse or been in a toxic relationship or just dealing with toxic people in general. And this is super important in order to navigate this world, especially if you consider yourself to be an empath. So like this video, share it with all your friends and family, anyone you feel that would benefit from this content. And also don't forget to subscribe down below if any of this content resonates with you, because I post once a week and you don't want to miss all of my really helpful and encouraging and empowering messages that I have for you. So the topic for today is forgiving the narcissist for their crimes. This is not a command. This is just out of a sense of understanding what is going on and how to move forward. This is a necessary step in your recovery. And I'm not doing this in a way of condemning, but this is definitely something that we need to address. All of us who have dealt with a very difficult relationship with a toxic person, or in my case with a narcissist, we all have friends who, though they mean well, they sometimes invalidate you or invalidate your experiences by telling you to forgive. Forgive someone who hurt you, forgive someone who abandoned you before you're fully healed. For example, I met up with a friend one day, and this is the same person who sort of was there throughout my last relationship with a narcissistic person. And, she was there for the entire several months that we were together, and from beginning to end. And even despite the fact that she witnessed what happened, very early after our breakup, she was, quote unquote, encouraging me to forgive and forget. There are at least two problems with being told to forgive and to forget. Number one, most of the time it's coming from, it's premature. It is without actually having analyzed the relationship, analyzed your own part in the relationship and in the transaction of mistreatment or abuse. And also there's a point too, which would be you haven't healed to the point where it wouldn't invalidate you and invalidate your experience by quote unquote forgiving this person. It wouldn't be genuine or thorough. So forgiveness in reality is not something that just happens overnight. There's a process. So here are my, let's say 5 points for what forgiveness is. This is how I would define true forgiveness. Number one, true forgiveness comes from light. It comes from the exposure, and it comes from the truth of the situation and its exposure in all aspects, as in the root of the problem, your part that you played, the true dysfunction behind the situation, whether it be their dysfunction and your dysfunction, and the history that you have that provided this root of dysfunction in many different ways. So that's really honestly step one. That's the first point. Forgiveness comes from light. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? Number two, forgiveness is not on a whim. No one can simply tell you one day to move on, no matter how well-intended they are. A shallow response to pain does not equal healing. Number three, forgiveness is a process. Like I said, it is a step-by-step strategy that doesn't hide from the truth, and it doesn't invalidate those that are involved. It sees everything for what it is and goes little by little based on your comfort and based on respecting your real life situation, step by step, to address each and every aspect of the problem. Number four, forgiveness isn't weakness. It doesn't come from a place of self-sabotage or anger or codependency. Forgiving someone, in my opinion, and I would say in reality, is the most godlike privilege we have been given. We must use it right. We don't just forgive on a whim. We don't just forgive as a way of, glossing over some of the things that we've been through. Forgiveness is intentional, and it is not weakness. It doesn't come from a place of weakness. It comes from a place of strength. Forgiveness, number 5, doesn't excuse wrongdoing. Some relationships will never be mended. And some relationships are really not supposed to be mended. As in continuing the relationship would actually condone healthy pathological behavior. And when it comes to people that maybe are undiagnosed narcissists, they have narcissistic personality disorder, there are a lot of wrongdoings, not just because of their the things that they have said to you, but the destruction that has happened in their wake is enormous. Nothing that they do bears good fruit. It is always rotten. Everything they do is always spoiled. Unless it is something that makes them money or gives them some sort of validation, it typically will not end well. And so when you forgive someone, it doesn't excuse their wrongdoing. It doesn't just gloss over what they've done. It acknowledges what they've done. And I'll show you exactly how I interpret forgiveness and what, without actually speaking to the toxic person in your life, what that would look like. But all of these points inherently protect and reinforce healthy boundaries. And it doesn't rely on someone else's consent. Therapy requires consent. Solving relational problems requires consent. Apologies require consent. Forgiveness, in its truest and most thorough form, doesn't require anyone else to co-sign on it. Doesn't require anybody else to say, okay, it doesn't require anybody to apologize, anyone to be well-intentioned. It only requires you taking full control over your response to a situation, to a person. So here's my definition. True forgiveness says something like this to the narc. And this is not a literal speaking to the narcissist, but this is how I see in words what forgiveness is. So it says something like this. I understand that you are a liar, you are a cheater, an abuser, in some cases a sex addict, a manipulator, a gaslighter, a crazy maker, etc. The list can go on. I also understand that in my weaker and less healthy state, I somewhat allowed you to take advantage of me and drain me of my person and my energy. I understand that you abused me for the entire duration of our relationship. I understand that you have a pathological disorder that you probably will never seek help for. And I understand that most likely you will never change. But here's the kicker. But despite all your attempts to destroy me, you failed miserably. And I exercise my right to remove you and everyone associated with you from my life. I forgive you for your evil and for every evil thing you ever said or did to me that I believed was true love. And I release you back into the pitiful hole you crawled out of. Now, for some that are weaker, may hear this and think that this comes from a sort of like an angry place, but no, I think it definitely addresses the situation without drowning in it, without wallowing in self-pity and in anger and frustration of the situation. It is washing your hands completely of a person and a situation, so that even though they may say things to you, they may do things to you, your response is still the same. Let me know down in the comments if this sort of response resonates with you. If you have your own, actually let me know if you have your own sort of definition for forgiveness, how you've forgiven people, toxic people, narcissists in your own life, and how you would write a sort of a letter of forgiveness to the person that has hurt you the most in your life. This is, I think, a really good way to release toxic people while not negating what they've done, but simply acknowledging what happened and moving on. Like I said, like and subscribe to my channel. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss another of my videos that I post once a week. And I will see you on the next video.